This video is going to go into a bit of detail about my above ground pool setup, a bit of history, how it's evolved over time, and some of the things that I have to keep the pool maintained and keep it warm. This is what the pool looks like now. It's a 4 metre by 2 metre by about 1 metre pool, and it's set on some artificial grass. But going back, this is how it all started. It's again an above ground pool. It's basically a big bag with an inflatable top ring, so you inflate the top ring of air and that floats on top of the water, and that's it. Very, very simple to set up. I used a small filter with a cartridge in it, and that was enough to keep the pool maintained. Still needed to use chemicals unless you emptied it on a regular basis, but that was it. For my daughter at the time, who were sort of 3 to 5, it was fine, and we had a lot of fun with that pool. All above ground pools like a nice level base with the inflatable top pool. I just put that on top of the grass. The grass itself was fairly flat, and that was adequate. But when I thought about stepping up to a larger pool, I knew I was going to have to do something to ensure that the ground was really level. So what I did is I started to dig out a section of the garden. And the idea was to level under the pool with sand and set in some patio slabs underneath where the supports for the pool were going to go. And that was going to give me my base. In this picture, I'm leveling out the sand, just using a large piece of wood to get it level. And then I go round later on and I set into that sand some of the patio slabs once I've worked out exactly where the supports were going to go. And to start with, I used a really cheap outdoor material. It was almost like an outdoor carpet, but it was a lot cheaper than artificial grass. And I went for this because at the time, a lot of people were doing artificial grass. I mean, since then the prices have come right down. And I was a bit concerned about how the chlorine was going to affect the grass and all sorts of different questions. So as more and more people have gone for artificial grass now, a lot of those fears have been alleviated, the prices have come down, and that's why I'm now on artificial grass. So this is what the pool now looks like. I'm based in the UK. I set the pool up depending on the weather, basically. So as soon as it gets warm enough, which can be around sort of April, May time, the pool goes up, and it will stay up until it starts to get too cold to use it, which is generally beginning of October, middle of October time. Pretty much I'll fill it up once in the year. Sometimes I may do a part fill, depending on if it gets really heavily used. I may drain about a quarter of the pool and fill that up, but generally it's the same water that stays in all year, and it's maintained just with chemicals. The main chemicals that I use are chlorine tablets. They're put in a dispenser that goes into the pool, and they maintain the chlorine levels. But if it's been particularly hot or again particularly heavily used, then they may also do a shock treatment as well. So as the pool gets set up every year, the pipes and the cabling has to be a semi-permanent arrangement. So start off with the filter. The water comes out of that pipe into the pump. I went for a good spec pump because I did originally have solar matting attached to the fence, and I found with the really cheap pumps you just couldn't get any height at all from the pump. So spec'd out a decent pump. That pump then feeds into a sand filter. Sand filter's been brilliant. The cartridge system that I had before, forever taking out the cartridges, back rinsing them, and then eventually replacing the cartridge. This sand filter I think is now in its 3rd or 4th year. Still got the original sand in there. Backwash it every year at the end of the season, but that's it. It just looks after itself. So the water passes through sand. All the bits get caught on the top layer of the sand, and at the end of the season you just reverse the water flow, and it comes out of all the muck comes out of an outlet, and it's brilliant. From there it goes into this, which is the heat pump. So again, going back, originally had a 3 kilowatt electric heater. Electric heater works just like a kettle does. You've got an electric element inside. You basically put in 3 kilowatts of electricity and you get about 3 kilowatts of heat out of it. Great for a small pool, but as the pool gets larger, it just takes longer to heat. You're going to have it on for a lot longer and it starts getting expensive. So this heat exchanger, again, is a 3 kilowatt heat exchanger, but it only takes about 1 kilowatt of electricity. So it's about 800 watts to 1 kilowatt of energy going into it to produce about 3 kilowatts of heat. So a lot more efficient than the electric heater. These valves here just basically control the flow of water into the heat pump. It allows you to completely isolate the heat pump if you're doing any maintenance on it, but it also allows you to control the pressure of the water into the heat pump. The heat pump needs the water to be of a certain pressure, and by adjusting these valves you can adjust that pressure. From there it goes into this spaghetti mess. So there is a valve that I can open and close, and when it's open it pushes the water into what I call this octopus. So this octopus is basically 2 sets of 4-way valves. So you've got water coming in and then it goes out via the bottom section out of all those hose pipes. There's another valve on the octopus that splits the top and the bottom, and that's usually closed. So the water comes into the octopus, goes out of the bottom hose pipes, and then goes into, at the moment, 3 different soda collectors. So you've got these big squares here with the pipe wrapped around them in a circular fashion, and you've also got a very long mat as well. These squares are made myself. You can buy them, but I think they're about £100 for something similar. So all these is just a piece of wood with a border and some black PVC pipe that's coiled around in a circle. I've used cable ties to hold one of them in place. So one of them's you can see the circles have sort of squashed down a bit. That was the Mark 1 version. The Mark 2 I used cable ties to hold it in place. Also, one of them's got a Perspex cover over, one hasn't. The Perspex cover, I think, does do a good job. It keeps it nice and clean, and it does increase the temperature. I just haven't got around to buying that for the second one. But the water goes round the black plastic pipe. The sun heats the black plastic pipe, and obviously that then turn heats the water. The mat is something that I did buy. Got a couple of valves. A couple of adapters on there to change it from the hose pipe size into the thicker pipe. But same principle, water goes in one end, goes through the black pipes, the black mat, sun heats that up, and it comes out the other end. So all these in turn then go back into the top of the octopus. So they've got 4 hose pipes going back into that, and then coming out of that is another pipe. Now that used to go back into the return that goes back into the pool, and I haven't spent time to work this out yet. I was a bit concerned about sort of back pressure and the pressure coming back causing problems with the water flowing around the system. So at the moment I've got a separate outlet that just goes straight into the pool. So I've got this pipe at the moment that's dangling over the edge of the pool, and the hot water goes into there. Now the sun has to be out, it has to be bright. It's not like a solar electric panel where it just needs to be light. The sun, there can't be any clouds, the sun needs to be out and shining. And when it is incredible. The amount of heat that it generates is surprising. You can't, on some days you can't hold your hand under that outlet. It's that hot. The duck, we call him the temperature duck. So he basically has a thermometer attached underneath him. It's a long cable with a thermometer on the end, and attached to the end of that is a Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is just shoved into a Chinese food container that's waterproof, and that sits underneath the waterproof housing that I've got for the electrics. The Raspberry Pi is running a piece of software called Temperature Machine. This is a screenshot of it, and it tracks the temperature over time. It's quite useful. It's quite useful to see how the pool is gaining heat and also then losing heat, obviously, in the evening as well. And it gives you a history back over the period of sort of 7 days and 24 hours and a month as well. You can see here we had some lovely summer days recently, and the pool got up to a temperature of 34 degrees, which was amazing. It was just like a bath. Above that is the waterproof housing for the electrics. So in there I've just got a couple of plugs. One's going to the pump and one's going to the heat pump. Standard plugs, nothing special. I do have a smart plug attached to both of them, so I can turn both of them off using on and off using my phone, and I can also turn both of them off using Alexa as well. Again, really useful, because what it does allow me to do is schedule the pump. So when the pool isn't being used, I run the pump just an hour a day. That comes on a schedule and shuts itself off. And then if we are going to use the pool and I want to get some heat in there, then I can control that from wherever I am with my phone. So that's it. That is my pool. Hopefully it's given you some ideas for your setup. If you do have any questions, please leave them below and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you for watching.